But as an intern, I was doing things, and then you'd drive home and you'd see them, and you could feel them, and you could touch them. You saw the stop sign put back up, or you saw the lighting that got installed on the baseball field, or whatever the programs that you were working on in a neighborhood business district, and you felt you could really impact people. Ultimately, what people want, they want a house with a roof over their head. They want a job that can put food on the table. They want a school that educate their children. They want a neighborhood that is safe and their garbage picked up, their potholes filled, their streets plowed, and every few years have enough money left over to go on vacation and take the kids to Disney World. If you can do those things, people are happy. That is what life, really is about for people, is security, opportunities for their children, and a little enjoyment with their family. And that's local government. And growth is not always easy, and people are going to push back and feel concerned when they watch their neighborhood change. But, and it's a big but, that it all only works when you make sure people are able to remain in the communities that they grew up in. And it's not about a house. People talk about affordable housing, and that's a piece of the pie, but it's about sustainable neighborhoods. It's about making sure that the business districts thrive, the parks thrive, all of the school, the public transit access, workforce, and that people can be part of that community that they helped build. The big mistake in the 1950s was creating centers of poverty. We built high-rise public housing units, and everyone agrees that was not the right model. What you want is mixed income housing. But if you think about it, and I'll make up the numbers, if you tear down a high-rise that has 500 units, and you want to do mixed income housing, you don't need to build 500 new units, you need to build 1,500 new units. 1,500 new units takes more money than 500, 1,500 units takes more land than 500, and it takes more time. So you're not actually talking about a one-for-one swap, which would be much easier to do. That, I'll just find new land, I'll build another 500, and the real challenge is just money, which you hopefully can solve. This is finding the area, the design, and the time. And so the problem is you can displace 500, and by the time the 1,500 are ready, those residents have already resettled somewhere, and they don't want to move again and pick up their families and their children. So the temporary displacement becomes permanent displacement because of that change in development policy. You can have an affordable brick and mortar house or apartment anywhere in the city, but if you're not close to the church that you grew up going to, or you don't have access to the job that you've had for 10 years, or your kids are forced to change schools in the middle of the year because of it, we're failing as government. And that's the concern in East Liberty right now. It's a very legitimate concern that it's changing so quickly that people are losing the opportunity to be a part of the community that they helped to build. So it's a tough balance. We need new construction. We need new people. We need those $2,100 a month apartments. We need a tax base, but it's got to be done in a smart way that also protects those who have always been a part of the community. So my solution that I do support is the mayor's proposal for an affordable housing trust fund to help, number one, subsidize affordable rental markets. Number two, to help young people buy their first home, so you start to have home ownership in communities. And number three, to help senior citizens who have owned their homes for a long time and are watching their property taxes increase be able to afford to stay in their community and not become house poor, where you paid off your home but you can't keep up with your tax bill. So if we can help those groups so that you have seniors who are able to stay in their homes, young people buy a home, and low and moderate income renters afford to stay in a community, you'll see that stabilization mix with new construction and new market rate housing, and it'll be the healthy mix we want to see. Any community that is not in a majority feels targeted right now by the president and by the leadership of this country. Thankfully, cities have always been kind of the home of diversity, the home of inclusiveness, the home of innovation, and we're continuing that model here. This is a city that was built by immigrants. It's a city that has prided itself on being inclusive well before Donald Trump got elected president, but now we've had to double down. So the City for All agenda is broad, and we mean for it to be broad. The legislation that I passed dealt very much around immigrants and refugees. City services are provided equally to everyone regardless of their immigration status. But it means inclusiveness for the GLBTQIA community. It means equal opportunity for women in the workplace. It means support for pedestrians and cyclists and the physically handicapped. It means that everyone has an equal opportunity to thrive from a health, economic standpoint to really grow in our city. Neighborhood Block Watch or your neighborhood community organization, just being involved in the community around you and recognizing that what happens every day in your neighborhood, in your town, in your city you're a part of and that you can have fingerprints on makes a really big difference. Most of the great efforts to reform this country have started at the local level. That's where change happens. It starts in neighborhoods and swells to city halls and builds up from there. It does not come from the top down usually. And so people who feel like they can't make a change, they really, really can. And we feel it in this building every day, where residents seriously impact what happens in this city, and that changes what is happening in our state and in our country. As amazing as this, I will argue that still the best way to follow what happened locally is Twitter. I think it is the most powerful tool. You follow the right, 5 to 10 people. You don't have to post. You can just read what's happening and really know what's happening in your city. It is an incredibly important step to take. Police community interactions, that's controlled at the local level. Inclusiveness priorities, issues around, immigrants and ICE and deportation. A lot of this, there's roles for the local government to play. The safety of your neighborhood, the education in your public school systems, where crosswalks go, ball fields, all of that is happening at local level. And so follow the right people and see where your tax dollars are going. What are the opportunities, to participate in a public meeting and have your voice heard? And specifically, the people in Pittsburgh, in the city, go to your city council website, pittsburghpa.gov, and you can see all 9 members. You can see their districts, and if you just click on their pictures, you can email them. It's that easy to get in touch with most of your elected officials. And I think the lower the level of government, the easier it is to connect. I respond to everything that comes into this office. Tweet at me, Facebook me, whatever it is, and you're going to get a response. And I think you'll find that's true of a lot of your local electeds. We've turned a corner in this city. Our average age is now 32.8. We have population growth for the first time. We're seeing hundreds of millions of dollars in new venture capital. We're seeing billions of dollars in job creation that we have literally not seen since the 1970s. Pittsburgh crime is down. Average income is up across all levels of educational attainment. We are still within the home ownership market, a great city, affordable city for young people to move and start a family. We have high quality of life. Things are heading in the right direction, and you see that in poll numbers with how people feel about Pittsburgh. But we're just building the beginnings of a foundation. It took decades to create a lot of the problems. It's going to take a long time to rebuild. And I'm very proud of the work I've done over the last 4 years and working with the mayor in his first 4 years. And I think if you give kind of the team that's here with my colleagues on council and the mayor 4 more years, we're really going to see a city that's for all. We're going to see a city that is bringing in jobs in a new way, a city that is creating great opportunities for families in a way we haven't seen, economic opportunity to climb the ladder and make sure that everyone, whether you have a GED to a PhD, there's a place in Pittsburgh for you to succeed and build a family. This country's going to shift to the middle over the years. I think you're going to see fewer people living on the coast and more into the middle of the country. And so our competition is not New York and San Francisco. We're battling Kansas City, Columbus, Nashville, Denver, and cities like that, Minneapolis, about what are going to be the great 21st century cities. And we are right there, neck and neck at the front, to be one of the greatest cities for the 21st century for people to raise a family, have a job, and succeed. And I believe our policies are heading in that direction, but we need more time. You don't solve these problems overnight.